I didn't even turn the music up. What am I doing? Sorry, you didn't need to have music. There's the music. Okay, you had music now. Sorry for not turning the music up. I was in a conversation post daily stand up as per usual. I guess not really per usual, but it has been happening lately. I'm going to be right back. I just drank the last bit of my water and I would like more water before we get started. I'll be right back. Well, thank you for your patience. Hello, 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 and welcome to another One Lion of Code. I am One Lion. 404, stream not found. Hydrate declined. Oh, geez. Which makes me want to check my bot. It's Bang Water, but if the bot isn't running, then it's nothing. Nothing at all. What do we say? Yeah, we're good. Bot's running. Oh. So hello everyone, happy Friday to you. Hello Deflex, hello Mojo, hello Napalm, and Amanita was first. Hello Amanita. I hope you're doing fantastic on this Friday. Whew, running up and downstairs. I'll miss you too. Tears. Anyway, today on our channel is Community Day, which means that I will be opening up Discord voice channel very, very shortly, as soon as I get everything started, and make sure that my audio outputs are good. When I rush, I typically forget to check, but yes, everything will be outputted correctly. Hello, President Not Sure. I'm not. I'm not President Not Sure, but that's fine. I have more energy to be able to hide it, but that's fine. Hello, TBD Gamer. Thank you so much for the follow. Yeah, I have a lot of things that need to get done, and if I allow myself to stay in that mood. No audio, Napalm. Napalm. Where's your Kappa face? Where's your Kappa face? Anyway. Yeah. Oh, cool things though. I was able to do my Azure 204 recert. 204? AZ204. Yeah, AZ204 recert. Yeah, almost there. Almost there, Napalm. 1 second. Got my AZ204 recert, and I was able to do another, the one that Dukasoft posted, the Free Code Camp C# Foundational. That was an easy certification to get. For those of you that are already familiar with C#, you can just run through all of the Microsoft Learn paths, I think is what they're called, with all of the modules, and just knock that one out of the way. Have an actual Microsoft certification if you don't already have one. And for those of you that are new to C#, as I was going through the Learn courses, they were pretty fantastic for teaching you how to do C# from scratch. It was pretty impressive, the materials. There were a few things that I was like, how is anyone that isn't familiar with C# supposed to know this thing? Because there's some typos, there's some misinformation. But for the most part, it's a really good course for getting you into C# and .NET in general. Okay, so as I mentioned, today's Community Day. I will probably be tinkering a little bit in the financial management application, which I posted the GitHub link to the project above, but for the most part, we're just going to be conversing. So we already have Napalm waiting to be pulled into chat, so I will pull you in now if you want to mute the stream and be on Discord. And I'll have my camera going there. Boop. All right, mic check, please. Maybe. Turn on camera. Okay. All right, so now you should be able to hear me in Discord.
Yep.
And cool. All right, so you might be a little too loud, so say a few more words.
A few more words.
Whoa. Yeah, very loud. That's okay though.
I'm creative like that.
Keep going.
Keep going. I am going.
Here we go. I think we have you equalized. I am the equalizer.
Equalization is good.
Yes. All right, how does it sound to you on stream?
Sounds good to me.
Not you.
Oh, I'm not on stream. Yeah, shut up, Sean. All right.
I wasn't talking to you. In fact, I'm not going to talk to you for the rest of the stream. TBD Gamer says sounds good. Then. Awesome. So what's going on, Napalm? How are you on this? How are you Friday on this?
Friday on this? I don't know. Good, it's Friday. Long weekend ahead, so that's always good. Labor Day. So.
Labor Day. I will still be streaming on Labor Day, by the way. Same time. I won't be interrupting my schedule. Thank you for bringing that up.
No problemo. And right now I am currently working on an Azure function that is reading log data from JFrog Artifactory and pushing it into Microsoft Sentinel/log analytics.
Did you see Broken Sword's question in Discord?
I probably did not.
He was asking about application insights and using a Saga approach, and he's needing to figure out some performance issues using data from that. And so
do not know much about that.
Okay. So his first question was, does anyone have experience with using application insights, period? And then
that, yes.
Here's my situation.
So log analytics, can't talk. Application insights is pretty straightforward, though. I don't know what specifically he's looking for, but I've used it. I've added custom telemetry to it. So.
Yeah, it has to do with their approach. Like the team that already set everything up, the approach that they're taking makes it very convoluted to get information out of it. And there's a lot of information.
Oh, yeah. Put it this way, I'm not a big fan of one aspect of application insights, and it's pretty common across any of these types of logging solutions, is the need to invent a custom query language. Right. Like, why, folks? We got SQL. Why are you doing this to me? Right. But there is a handy PDF out there for folks that do application insights work that is converting common SQL isms to application insights query language.
It was specifically using Azure Service Bus. And where did I get? Where did I get
Speak of the
insights
devil,
from?
Broken Swords is in chat.
Hello, Broken Sword. Where did I get insights from? Did you mention application insights at all during your question in Discord, Broken Sword? How did I get on that? You know what? I probably read into it because, like I said, I just did the AZ204 research, and a lot of the questions that they had on there were about doing performance analysis using application insights. But he was specifically talking about service bus and using sagas. Oh,
Yeah,
crap.
I don't know anything about that. I mean, I've worked with Service Bus, but I have no idea what you mean by Saga. So.
Oh, geez. And they're both in the waiting room. Hi. Sorry to leave you out in the cold for so long.
Hey, what's up?
What's going on? So I don't know if you heard me
Hold on, I hear
indicating. Oh, okay. So yes, you most likely did.
Oh, you're good. There we go.
Where oh yeah, how can I use application insights to trace down a
Dang it,
performance
now I
issue that
can't
I'm
hear you.
experiencing?
Hold on. Bear with me one moment. I'm fixing this.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No,
I say I also have a little bit. What is this in the Blazor?
it
channel?
is in the
I'll let you know when I
codehelp.net.
can hear everyone.
Sounds good.
Da, 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 dee, da, do. Trying to find it.
And it is starting at yesterday at 2:05, or I don't know what time it's going to be for you, but 2:05 Mountain Time.
There we go. I can hear everyone now.
Awesome. So
Is it
we were
over you
reading
guys?
through your
Yes.
question.
Say that again. One line.
We were
yes,
reading
the
through your
Agile Service
question.
Bus.
Oh,
Whoa.
sorry. Seems to be a lot of excited people and makes me happy. I haven't seen you guys in a while.
It's been a while, yeah.
So no, I have not fixed the issue, but it's okay. I am working on it still, but basically I'm using like an open source Saga transaction framework called Workflow Core. If you guys never heard of it, I highly recommend checking it out. It's super awesome. For example, I wanted to take the Discord bot to the next level by making it where I interface with ChatGDP API to every time one line or whoever goes live, it will create a custom introductory of what's going on and like maybe message or tag other users that have been online, or I don't know, just something fun that you can do with ChatGDP. And Workflow Core would be like an easy way for me to kind of combine all these transactions together in like a fluent API type of setting. But
I gotta
Yeah.
troll a little bit though. It sounded like you said ChatGPT.
He did.
I didn't know there was AI for
I
a
loved it.
domestic product.
I loved it.
I didn't mean
I
to.
mean,
My bad.
there probably needs to be an AI for gross
I
domestic
think I
product.
just
don't
linked
think we're there.
I linked the work. I think I linked the docs in chat. It's very interesting. They're setting up like a saga where you have like a list of tasks basically, and it's like a. Is that what that is? Or is that something different?
It's kind of like imagine you got 4 APIs, and before you do everything, you want to check someone's credit. You want to interface with one API that checks someone's credit and gives you a callback, and then you want to do another transaction where after you check the credit, you want to approve a loan or something. So let's imagine you have like a process where you need to speak to multiple APIs at the same time. Workflow Core is just a way to kind of do that, where you create these steps and classes, you put all your business logic in there, and then behind the scenes, you can hook it up to SQL or any kind of data store you want, and it basically will just help store the state of these workflows. So for example, if it needs to disconnect or something and it's a super long saga or transaction, when Workflow Core gets the callback, it'll know exactly where it was at that specific time. So
Gotcha.
it's kind of a way of managing long transactions and just putting logic in steps. But once you kind of involve Azure Service Bus and then on top of Azure Service Bus, you add Rebus, you kind of start things start getting really complicated when it starts debugging. So I kind of just upgraded everything in the dark, blind, from .NET Core 2.1 to 6, an older application, and everything is working, and I see the steps actually performing better, but there's like one property called null that gives me no information that's taking a long time. I don't know what it is, and it's just, yeah, any kind of like
Well,
messaging based solutions get really hard to debug, kind of.
But I did want to throw in a response to your initial question that you had in the yesterday at 4 o'clock my time, which was having an issue tracking performance issues with Service Bus. And my first initial thing is that Service Bus itself is like a dumb bus, so it doesn't necessarily it doesn't actually track any of that. It'll be the loading and offloading is actually where that process takes place. Now, in the .NET 6 application, there's like a cancellation token and all this, and you can like return it, right? So let's say you get a message from a service bus, and you go, actually, I don't want to process this right now, and you can send it back into the bus, reject it basically, and then maybe another client picks it up and actually resolves it. So I don't think necessarily service bus has any of those performance counters. It's the loading and unloading that actually you can then measure how long did it take to unload one message. Is it too long? And loading same way. I don't know if that helps any, or if that's a way to think about it.
Yeah,
So
sure.
you would have to, yeah.
Sorry if I'm talking too much, guys.
No, you're good.
Taking over the stream. I don't
It's
mean to do
community
that.
day. We want you here.
Essentially,
We should go down the list. We should go. Everyone apologize for talking too much now, and then we'll get it done.
No, we
and
all
then we
need
just
to
talk whatever.
apologize for talking over each other. That's all. And then talk over each other
Look at
and
that,
try to
yeah,
apologize
if
for
I was
that. And anyway, go ahead, Broken Sword.
Well, the way that I'm debugging it now is workflow core. Whenever I create these steps, and then I combine all these steps using like a Fluent API type of syntax. Workflow core writes down every single transaction in an automatic table that's generated via the data store, like whatever you connect it to. It kind of uses Entity Framework behind the scenes to just go ahead and automatically generate its own data store. But you can see what steps are taking the longest. And like I said, that's the closest thing I came to actually debugging it. But there's just one null step in every single API that's using this workflow saga pattern that is taking a while, and I don't really know what that is. I think the null step signifies, hey, this is the total saga transaction in general, but at the same time, all the steps are listing as performing even better than they originally were. It's just basically the only information I'm obtaining is, hey, all your steps are performing actually better, but the total process is taking longer than once you upgraded it. You know what I mean? And then I'm using like Azure Application Insights.
Right. How are you getting that?
How am I
initially you had in the version 2.0 of your application, right? You had a performance counter, and now you moved everything to .NET in, and you explained some of that. And now that same performance counter is telling you it's slower. Is that basically, or is it a different performance counter?
No, there's just one step called null. It basically, I believe it's like a system step.
Right.
That's why
I'm asking you, what tool are you using to decipher what is the counter tool that you're using?
Oh, I'm just looking at the logs inside of the database that shows steps and how long they take to perform, hoping to pinpoint which step in the workflow is actually taking the longest.
Okay, so I mean, I guess they would, yeah, that's fairly impartial. I was thinking that for a minute, it's maybe if like Application Insights was measuring it differently to the, like what the version 2.0 version of Application Insights or whatever was measuring it. But did you want to throw that out? Like, it could be that like the way that they measured it in 2.0 version could just simply be measured differently in the 6.0 version. And you might be going, you know what I mean? They might just start measuring earlier or something like this. Just something to think about. Like, I wonder if there's a way you could independently verify whether or not it's actually slower or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still trying to work on it. What's interesting is the people that kind of created it are even having a problem. Don't even seem to know. Hold on one second, sorry.
No need to apologize. It's just a kid. It's what kids do.
But no, do you remember when Nick Chapas did a thing on performance timers, and he is one particular really useful. You can just like do the annotation of time above it, on the method, and it puts like how long the method takes into the actual like Visual Studio thing window. I forget what the window is called. I'd have to look.
It was like an
But
attribute.
yeah, attribute. That's what I was thinking. Sorry, no, well, wasn't in my head. But yeah, so you put the time attribute above it, and it just gives you a time. And maybe that might be a way to do it. But it sounds like to me, I mean, I'm looking at this workflow core, and it's really interesting to look at. I linked that documentation in chat, and I like the look of it. But so for me, I'm looking at it, and I see it as basically we're setting up like here you have like when task all, right? You have the task all once all the tasks complete. It's a little bit like that, but like imagine those steps were slightly more thing, and they have to compensate with. It's interesting. It's very interesting. I'm wondering how new or old this is. Like, it went from an old, I guess, 2.0 application that I guess was using this.
Yeah.
And maybe again, maybe I to me, if like, yeah, I guess I don't really know, but to me, it's like maybe it's not the code itself. Maybe it's literally like the 6.0 version of the application, that updated Nugget package. They just measure things differently. That will be my like, unless you can actually see like the application now is slow. You know what I mean? You're just going off what the performance counter is telling you that it's slower, but very well may not be.
Who knows if he was able to hear you?
No, I don't think he. I was talking. I was sort of sharing out loud. I was rehashing what was already in my head. 'Cause I already mentioned that, but just to see if I covered it with you separately, just to where it comes back. That sounds reasonable.
I heard everything you said, Deflex.
Okay, cool.
Oh, okay.
Good, because I wasn't really paying attention because I don't have very much knowledge in this area at all, and I'm just leaving it to you guys who do.
Yeah, I've just literally reading over the docs now. I've never even heard of this thing before. It looks really cool though. It looks. I wonder, is this something that came out a while ago, or is this something that's really new? Because it looks funky and new.
Tyron's
they
like
got a whole
nougat.
YAML thing about it.
It's nougat deflux.
Happy Friday.
What did I say?
You say nugget, which is fine. It's how you pronounce it.
Oh,
it's fine.
That's how it's pronounced.
You're just weirding Tyron out.
Yeah. Look, we speak the King's English or the Queen's English over here, okay?
Which has a lot of R's.
Yep.
Nougat. That sounds tasty.
You can't put
Does
that in chat.
Anyone else like Three Musketeers?
The chocolate bar?
Mm-hmm. With nougat.
I'm trying. Workflow core. Here it is. Oh, last updated. Oh yeah, wow. This got like I'm looking just at the workflow core state machine. Interesting. It looks a little bit like Redux too, but 2 million hits last updated 3 months ago. So yeah, definitely actively developed. .NET Standard 2. So they made it compatible with .NET 6, but they haven't actually like intentionally made it a .NET 6 variant. And they are using Newtonsoft. So it is, in my mind, a slightly older technology, assuming this is the one you're using. This is the most downloaded one. Interesting.
I think this is
I'm also
the right
gonna
terminology, so correct me if I'm typing it in chat wrong, please, Broken Sword.
Yeah, it's fine. It's just like it's a very complicated issue, man, and it's kind of hard. So like, I don't want to like
Sounds like
overburden the whole.
I mean, this is a nice topic to try to pursue and see if we can find something.
Okay. I think so. What's interesting is just I think a cool topic would be like just debugging message-based architectures in general. like what the best approach would kind of be a cool topic or something like that. So in App Insights, there's like an application map at the very top.
Yes. Yeah.
And you can see where all your calls are going, and you can see like a diagram, like what all is interfacing with each other. And once I upgraded it, I see like specific calls in there taking 60 seconds exactly, which is a weird anomaly to me. It's almost like
sounds like a
something's
timeout.
Timeout, yeah.
Yeah.
And
It
then
does.
going back. And it's like, but I just don't know what it is. I don't know what's timing out, you know. But I don't see any issues. Like the loans are still processing. But I think I just maybe want to learn more about the application map in general. If you guys know what I'm talking about, like it's like the third thing on the bottom when you're looking at App Insights. And
it's the first thing at the top of the investigate sub. I was actually staring at this all database, so it's so interesting you should mention that.
Yeah.
That actually sounds like you're correct. One thing I guess what I would recommend maybe thinking about doing, is there a way you could stress test this application? What would happen if you send it 1,000 of it at the same time in a way, and then see if it's like see if there's an exponential growth in memory or something like this, right? Whether you can actually like, oh no, this is going wrong. I do note that the workflow core latest package, NuGet package, got it right, is using some older packages inside it, like its dependencies, like it's not using the latest stuff. So it could very well be it is just running slower in .NET 6. That can be a thing, if you're not got the latest and greatest. So but no, I think stress testing it would probably highlight if something is timing out, right? Because then it would go, I don't know, that would be my gut instinct thing to do. I don't know if it's possible to write a .NET app that just sort of fires things at it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I think the only approach that I can really take to maybe really truly understand and solve the issue is just create my own POC from the beginning using Workflow Core, because I didn't really create this entire application. I just refactored it and upgraded everything. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
And
yeah.
Some of the underlying stuff I just don't exactly understand, and it's kind of complex, especially with, you know, a Saga transaction and messaging based. So like I said, I think I'm just gonna do my own project for a little bit, and then, you know, it'll just be like, aha, that's what it's going on. Or I'll end up doing something and I'll be like, I wonder if this is what's going on here, and I'll play with the existing project. So it's just going to take time.
I would definitely recommend. I mean, as a general rule, anytime I would do that as a general rule. Like anytime someone says, "Well, can we do this?" Well, let me go create my own little side application. Right now, I'm having a difficulty with MSAL and Angular. So the first thing I do is I'm going to create a side application that mimics that and see if I can recreate it in a separate project. But definitely also, I'm going to see if I can bump into that video I'm talking about. Are you familiar? When I was mentioning earlier with the time attribute, are you familiar with what I'm talking about, or are you familiar with the Nick Cheppers video on that? He does a pretty cool talk on that.
No, if you don't mind, that'd be cool if you could link it.
Yeah, I'll link it, because it is really useful. You just shove it anywhere in any application, anywhere, and it will like then put performance counters out onto the log. And so you could do that to maybe suss, like maybe you got like 10 steps, and you can figure out which one of those steps is actually taking the time in the C# code itself, or what method is it? Where exactly it's timing out? If you're having, it sounds to me actually like you might be having a logging issue. That could also be a possibility, right? You could be throwing an exception and not catching it. That could be the problem. But we did say everything's going through just fine, so maybe it's just not pronounced in a way that could be.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, there it is. I'm gonna link it in chat. Well, that's YouTube. I guess I shouldn't have. But just in case someone else is also curious, that's the he goes through kind of a roundabout way, but it's called method timer.foddy is the actual like name of the nugget package he's using. But he goes to explain exactly how to use it, which is kind of nifty. And it just does a simple like MS timer for how long a method runs for.
Cool.
That goes in your debug outlook, I guess. But yes, no, I've had as for diagnosing, was it event-based application you would call it, or yeah, event-based, right? That's what you would call it.
Message-based?
We use Kafka, message-based. There we go. I was thinking that's definitely the wrong word. Message-based, because we use Kafka where I work manufacturing. And so that's something that we need to get better at, and we're going to start using that more. So we currently use Azure Service Bus, and we're going to be migrated over to Kafka at some point. But certainly, I sort of concur with what Thindel was saying there, where the bus itself, I've never actually had an issue with the bus itself. It's usually the way I'm loading into the bus. In this case, I'm using Azure Functions, or unloading, which is usually a console application or a web server application. And that's where usually you see the issue, not canceling on time or something like this. I'll hold it up. So.
And Tyron says this is why observability and monitoring are critical, and they use Prometheus and Grafana at work.
I would like to learn about Tyrene's work process, like what kind of problems he's solving, what stack are they using, and how he debugs his messaging-based solutions. And if he's using Azure Service Bus or like Event Grid with it, like, are you masking? Are you using anything on top of Azure Service Bus like Rebus to automatically kind of make things easier? So, for example, when you add Rebus on top of Azure Service Bus, it kind of like you don't need to explicitly make your buses. Not your buses, but your queues anymore. Your queues will automatically be created based on like the name of the class. Whereas if you're using just naked Azure Service Bus, you kind of need to create your own queues explicitly. And I was just curious, like, what you guys do, and if you put anything like on top of, or any layers on top of Azure Service Bus like that.
So we in-house ours in terms of rather than like having like individual queues. So we used to have our own messaging service, like the socket situation that we were just all in-house entirely in C#. This was back in like framework, and then so we migrated that out of it, and we created a service bus, and that by and large that service bus is dumb in the sense that we use the same bus and schema, and then we simply have one of those rows be indicate what's contained. So the message bus is like the same for 10 different things. You have a separate bus for a separate topic, or separate not topic. Dang it, a queue. There we go. A separate queue for each thing. We have one queue, and inside that queue, we use our C# wizardry to obfuscate whatever we need to put in there.
Oh, I see.
Just because that's just lost, and that was one of the issues we had with Service Bus, was exactly that, which is like, am I gonna legit sit here and like do what 8 clicks and create like a queue for each thing I need? I was like, no, it's gonna take too dang long. And at that point, I hadn't really clocked on. There are technologies out there where you can was it Azure Blueprint is one of them. And I figured the other one, which is also a programming language, you can put in YAML files. What's it called? I don't remember what it's called. But there are languages out there that you could do with Azure to like predefine everything about the Azure service, and then simply just hit the deploy, and you update you update the file, and then just the next time you do a publish, it then makes that change. And so if you did need something where you would have to do that, I wouldn't recommend going through the UI. I'd recommend going to something specifically designed for that. I'm gonna now Google up the language, so I've forgotten what it is.
I would read chat at this point in time, but there is no extra chat. Tyron's probably typing up a storm for you, Broken Sword.
Tyrene, also you say that observability and monitoring is so crucial. By the way, thank you for the information, Deflux. I appreciate you responding to that.
Appreciate you.
Tyrene, you said that that observability and monitoring is so crucial. Can you maybe go into a little bit of how you guys observe your messaging-based solutions and how do you monitor them, and maybe how you even debug issues that you guys may experience? Because apparently that's one of the hardest things about these type of architectures.
I do think it's I know that you mentioned that this uses essentially entity framework like along with a database to like store things, which is kind of like, because application insights by and large is Kafka. That's it's the underlying if you dig into the logs, it's KSQL, which is Kafka SQL. And so that's one of the things that I don't know. I was about to say something to the effect of, I don't think necessarily having a SQL solution. Maybe we've moved on past SQL solutions for that. And maybe that's part of the conversation. Maybe, but that's a too big of a scope, right? You're completely changing the entire application at that point. It's no longer a refactor; it's a complete, rewrite. So that's probably outside of the scope. But I am also too interested in what Tyron is saying. I'm googling this Prometheus logging, and I see some interesting documentations there, which is also built for SoundCloud. This is a little interesting, isn't it? That's where like was it Bootstrap? I think it was Bootstrap was made by Twitter for Twitter, and then eventually they're like, oh, actually, everyone kind of needs this. I guess SoundCloud, it needed a logging system, and so they built Prometheus, and that's where that tool comes from, which is rather interesting.
Yeah. One line, is your schedule only Mondays and Fridays now?
Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So what happened on this past Wednesday was I took Tuesday off because they need us to take a few days off to meet budget. And I came back on Wednesday and I had like 4 emails with meetings scheduled for Wednesday. And the first one was at 8 o'clock. It was a 2-hour meeting. The second one was at 10 o'clock, which is immediately after that 2-hour meeting. And that one lasted an hour. And the third one was at 1 o'clock. No, 11 o'clock and then 1 o'clock. And then we have a normal 3 o'clock meeting on Wednesdays. And I was like, I don't have a day. And then I needed to get stuff out because my project manager was going to be out. And I needed to do stuff with him before the next days, so I needed to do that on Wednesday as well. And it was just way too much. Way too much.
Gotcha.
So I had to take Wednesday for meetings. Lots and lots of meetings.
Someone mentioned earlier a technology, Microsoft Sentinel. I didn't catch who said that, but I tuned into that.
That's me.
Yeah. So what? Give me. So that's just something that you put with your endpoint, or what is that?
So from what I've gathered, Sentinel is just the Microsoft SIEM solution. So it's for security logging and intelligence related to security actions and things like that. So from my perspective, the requirement I was given from our cybersecurity guy was to literally take. We have a Artifactory instance that is pumping out logs, and they use Artifactory essentially to deploy software to the robots that are in the field. So we work with a robotics company. And ultimately what we're doing is pushing those access logs through an Azure function that's going to format things, dump it into log analytics, and that log analytics workspace is linked to Sentinel. So once it's there, they can query and they can use different types of intelligent operations to, hey, this looks like this might be suspicious activity, and alert somebody to do something about it type thing.
Interesting. So the bit you're interested in, and again, I know obviously, I'm assuming it's from a software development perspective, right? So the bit you're interested in is like, you get the logs from the machine out in the field, that goes to Azure Functions. Azure Function then formats that, works that out, and puts it into application insights, and then you unleash Sentinel on application insights. Like, say, is there something we need to be concerned about? Is that
application insights isn't part of it, at least not to my knowledge. I mean, the query language and the tooling is the same, but ultimately we're pushing into what, if I had to guess, log analytics is using under the covers in the log analytics service in Azure.
Oh, okay. So I'm just trying to understand. So the logging is coming into Azure Functions, and then that goes directly to Sentinel, or Sentinel is protecting the Azure Functions from malicious use. I'm confused.
No. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm with you. So Sentinel is for the analysis of robots that are in the field, whether the right actors are pulling manifests and version files and code files, OS updates and things like that.
Gotcha.
So they hit the robot will hit Artifactory, pull a new software update, and they want to know who did it, when they did it, what they were doing, so that they can keep track of that kind of thing.
And is that Sentinel application, is that something that your team sort of like went and like set up, used for your application, or is that like something the company you work for has like a instance of for all the projects that need that sort of tooling? Like that.
So the cybersecurity, I'm working for a startup. So the cybersecurity guy, he had background in using SIEM solutions to keep track of security logs. So ultimately, this was a requirement derived from him. Is just like, hey, I need to get all the different upstream systems effectively that are pumping out access logs into the same place, so that you can kind of do intelligent query operations across all the different systems and all the security actions that are occurring.
Your guys' jobs are so damn cool. I'm stuck trying to convince people to use Link, and you're like, we already worked all this shit out. I'm like, what the hell is this Sentinel?
I mean, you say cool. It took me 4 months to get Visual Studio, so I'm just happy to be writing C# again. So,
good deal. That's I've had for my week. I'll share just. I've had a pretty rough week. Just workload is off the chain, and then like I have the trouble I have right now is, and I'm glad I'm on Twitter saying this, is I've got an infestation issue right now in my I have a Unity infestation. Right, it's destroying my .NET standards using dictionaries for everything. Among other things, but we did some features, and then I reviewed like what got done. It's like all of this is not gonna work, which is great. So, but anyway, yes, Microsoft Sentinel. Okay, interesting. So one of the things that I'm trying to work out right now is we have Azure Functions behind a typical, AAD, whatever the Microsoft thing is for that protection. And so we were looking at different ways we can like better keep track of that, better secure that. But I think Azure Sentinel is a different product. I don't think that's going to help us. That's more for your use case. It seems like.
Yeah, it's how I understand it anyway. Is it would be the equivalent of a solution like App Insights or like Datadog, but tailored around the security use case.
Gotcha. And that's pretty cool too. I like that.
I haven't done much with the Sentinel tool itself. I just kind of get the data there, and I'm letting the cybersecurity guy go to town, do what you want. I don't know. I've had mixed feels because I come from an AWS background, and some of these Azure services are just completely janky.
Yeah, well, that's part of the parcel, isn't it? That's what's part of the fun, right? If it weren't janky, it wouldn't be Microsoft. It wouldn't be Azure. And
very true.
And it definitely wouldn't be AWS.
to be fair, AWS has its fair share of jankiness too.
Yes.
I guess I'm just used to that jankiness.
Right.
But it's fun. I'm hoping to get to play with containers soon because I work for a startup, so I'm trying.
You need to
push
redeem.
them.
This is the third week in a row. And I don't know if it was you last week that said this, Napalm. This is the third Friday in a week in a row. I need like a button redeem. That someone said I'm really excited to use containers on online stream.
I mean, I use containers for quite a bit in the past. It's not that I'm not familiar with them. I just haven't worked with them in Azure yet. I'm like,
okay. I was
trying to push this company towards the direction of doing some things that without revealing too much, get us off a third-party solution that they kind of are paying way too much to use.
You want to sort of use like an abstraction, like a K8 cluster, right? So you can like say, well, I can just host this where I need to host it, and then bada bing, bada boom, you've contained away the problem.
I would give anything to be able to spin up a Kubernetes cluster, but at a startup, I don't know that I can justify that yet. I think we're probably going to be working with.
Here's something interesting for you that I am learning right now is you might want to look into Azure Arc.
I knew about
Azure...
Arc a little bit. I know that you can kind of
yeah.
do Kubernetes clusters across different compute clouds and on-prem, so that's pretty cool. I know it has other features, but that's the selling point that caught my attention.
So I was actually thinking of just that. Wouldn't it be cool? I have some things I would like to do, but I really don't want to like be managing console applications on-prem in certain places. I'm like, wouldn't it be just nifty if I keep an eye on this in Azure? I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Obviously, I primarily use Azure, if it's not obvious. And so with Azure Arc, what is that flexibility where you can maybe work out a product, build it out for in K8s, do a like a was it POCO? Was it called? Yeah, proof of concept, a POC. And I'm terrible with the acronyms. A POC, right? On-prem, and then you're like, this is how it works, and only for this much money, we can do this without having to do the on-prem stuff too. That might actually save us labor costs in the maintain it in the long run. And that might be the cost savings.
We're probably going to end up starting with app service just because it's the vanilla hosting platform on Azure. But I was taking a look at. It's literally just managed Kubernetes under the cover, but.
Yep. So yeah,
and the same as ACS as well, because I was looking at that as an option. I'm like, well, the Azure Container Service would basically give me some clustering, but without the headaches of managing the Kate side of things. But pretty much all the container services in Azure are purely Kubernetes backend. It's just what level of abstraction did they put on top of it.
Right, and I think that's really is for me, at least as a .NET developer, and I know there's different workloads for different things. And one of the things that always like sort of confuzzled me about the containers game was part of the reason .NET is so magnificent is, or part of the reason why .NET is so widely, you could say, seen around or goes about, is because how big the abstraction layer is. And so, in my mind at least, and this is why I haven't particularly gone, I've multiple times looked into it, but I haven't particularly gone the case for the stuff I work on, is because I already have .NET can run on AWS, .NET can run on Azure, .NET can run on Google's cloud, .NET can run on your phone, so on and so on and so on. And so I don't need to go and like spin up a whole Linux box thing just to run my application. I can literally just go to their service and be like, AWS, host this, bye-bye. And it will then say, oh, you need a host for 1 million users? No problem. And there's no real actual like, other than you got to pay the bill, other than that, there's no real actual conversation about the limitations. You know what I mean? You just go there, it's like, here it is, you solve. And so I never actually got to the point where I was like, this would be so much better if I had a K8 cluster doing this. It's always been like app service, scaled or whatever, bye-bye, and I call it a day.
Yeah, I'm just a nerd. I like the ins and outs of K8. It's complex as all hell, but it's a challenge, so I think that's why I kind of...
Well, no. It's...
Hey guys, I gotta go to a meeting.
It's really... All right.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
I'll drop that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, you guys.
But yeah,
can
no.
continue.
But no.
I like how this is driving itself.
Like, well, it's
like what?
It's interesting.
Sorry, too many people talking.
I like that this is just
Blind
driving
City,
itself. It's just that,
Yeah.
like, also Deflux, keep in mind that you do have your own stream, so allow other people to talk when it's,
Yep.
when they are trying to
yep.
explain a thing. But right now, you two are good. You two are golden. You're in step. So please keep going.
Yeah, and I might just be streaming later. I maybe.
I was just going to add to the discussion that I thought ECS was a pretty good service in AWS, honestly. And I'm pretty sure it's not Kubernetes oriented because Kubernetes wasn't a thing when ECS came out. But man, is it stupid easy to build a container cluster on ECS, especially with Fargate. And then I'll have to manage the instance as well.
Yeah, and that's what I to say was .NET is the unicorn here, right? Because most places love Kubernetes. Most languages don't have that sort of thing that we use at that large abstraction layer that we are using, and so K8s makes a lot of sense for a lot of companies in a lot of ways, especially, those sort of old applications migrated into, or the stuff that the reason why Kubernetes and Docker even came around was because of the previous way things were designed.
I mean, I would argue that's the whole niche AWS serves as well. It's not the abstractions, it's AWS's lack of abstractions and I shouldn't say lack of, their abstractions mapped to more traditional real world infrastructure management.
Right. Yeah.
Where are you over there? Okay,
Anyway, I was just excited because
really...
I was physically on site in Vegas in 2019 when AWS announced Fargate on EKS. So that was exciting. I was the only one in a room that was watching the keynote that literally stood up and went, "Woo!" I'm a nerd.
Hey, Broken Sword, your mic is still hot, just so you know.
Hopefully, you made the live cut. So do you watch the stream and see if you can hear yourself in the keynote live stream?
Well, sadly, I wasn't in the keynote room. I was in the what do you call it? It was the certification lounge because I had 2 AWS certifications, so I was watching it in there.
I see.
But there is a video out there somewhere a couple years back. I want to say 2018 or 2017. I was at Microsoft Ignite that year. And the one company, I wish I could remember who it was now, was giving away a motorcycle. And I was there. It's the last day of the conference. Everybody's
okay. I'm in a meeting.
Okay. Everybody's crowded around waiting for them to announce the winner, right? And they're reading the numbers off the ticket. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to win this thing. Oh my God, I'm going to win a freaking motorcycle. How am I going to get a motorcycle home? And then it ended up being the number of the person behind me. You can vocally hear me go, oh.
Too cool.
It's the closest I've been to ever winning anything like that, I think.
I'm gonna do a really quick off-topic thing while you guys are doing that, but I need a question to ask ChatGPT.
You need a question to ask ChatGPT.
That's non.
I mean, I have lots of questions to ask ChatGPT.
Isn't it hard to just come up with a random question when you don't have just a question?
Yeah, it is.
What is the meaning of life? Hi, Nerder.
It's not Herder, the legend.
So there's a new thing that you can do in ChatGPT. I don't know how long ago they added this, but you can essentially tell ChatGPT how to respond to you. And so I told ChatGPT to be pretty sarcastic with me when I'm asking it questions that are non-technical. And so this, the thing that I don't like is it starts off with the blah 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 blah, and I'm like, stop answering like that, but still be sarcastic. And he's very sarcastic. I love it. But if we ask something like, how do I implement a chatbot for Twitch in C#, he'll give me a straight answer and not be sarcastic. And that's what I want. Oh, that's so cool. Anyway, that's it. That's all I wanted to show.
No, it is insane. I am thoroughly impressed, like seriously impressed on Seto's stream where he has that chat integration.
Yeah, I love that.
And he has, and that's all. That's not from the actual. He's not using the Azure Open API. He's literally just doing everything through the API prompts, and it's insane how effective and cognizant that is. At the same time as keeping in check all of those rules in order to not keep the theme of the stream appropriate and not violate TOS and all the other things and keep it somewhat ironic yet sarcastic and funny and so on. So I'm impressed to the point where I'm like, I need to hire Seto or someone to come explain this to me because I need this in my life. If I can get it. But no, have you guys used Elasticsearch? I think it's Elasticsearch.
I mean, I was trying to change over to Elasticsearch, but I never did enough research to do it. So we still ended up using our DT search product.
Because
The only time
Elasticsearch. Go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say the only time I've ever had a need for it was when it wasn't work related. It was personal project stuff. I was going to build something for my blog service that did like a full text search across blog posts for things and whatnot. But I was using MongoDB at the time, and Atlas had a really good search feature already built into the database that didn't really, it kind of replaced the need for Elastic. So I was impressed.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because Elasticsearch is the search type that you can integrate into OpenAI's GPT model. So that's a way that you can like connect up GPT or a language. What was it? We should be using the word LLVM, or it is some language model, something or other, to an actual like database of stuff, and then you could like, well, what happened at this time, or is this autocomplete, and so on and so on. And you can have like a conversation about that. But you have to use Elasticsearch. I have never used that, and it looks expensive as hell. Those on Azure, like seriously expensive. So I didn't pursue it, but I'm thinking of that.
Right, so I am trying to see if this thing will just spit out C# from now on when we ask it a coding question, but don't specify language. That's C#.
Oh, I see what you did. That's insane. So you're telling it you have to respond in the C#
I was
language,
a little snarky
and
there.
it's now, and that's now actually typing out C# stuff. That's intense.
Let's reinvent the wheel in C#. Nice.
Yeah, I actually. Is this that's a ChatGPT 4 thing?
Yeah, so
Actually,
well, I
start
don't know.
my-
I don't know if it's only for ChatGPT 4, but in ChatGPT, in ChatGPT, if you go down to the little three dots and you click on custom
Yeah,
instructions,
it's saying. For me, it's saying. I don't have that stuff because I don't have. I have the default level 4. I literally just canceled my subscription, my thing, because I use Copilot considerably more than anything else now.
yeah, it's
Or
just
Copilot
weird though
chat,
because
I
I
should
told
say.
it not to be snarky when I'm asking technical questions and asking it for an implementation of something or coding examples. It's supposed to just be direct and succinct. But this time it was like,
Well,
yeah, but let's reinvent the wheel.
I don't know whether I don't know that you could necessarily square that circle, right? Because you're saying give me a C# code, but the relevance of being snarky, it wouldn't even like you can't write snarky C# code. Potentially you could, right, with the naming.
I mean, the comment that he put before writing the code, or if he writes
Right,
comment
right.
in the code. Well, actually, yeah. Hey, let's keep it between 1 and 15 digits, shall we? That seems pretty snarky.
Yeah, I like that.
But I love this. I really, really wanted an AI to respond to me in a sarcasm way, but always give me the answer that it thinks is right. So it's like you can do as much making fun of it as you want, as long as you give me the correct or as correct an answer as you can give me as a trained GPT model. I love it though. The only thing that it won't do is berate you.
It amazes me. I watch some of those live streams and other things where people walking around the world, and it amazes me that still most of the world is like sort of. I don't want to. Well, I don't want to be negative, but most of the world is seriously a bad place to be a lot of the time. Still, the whole sections of continents of the planet, you can't live there without like a fully automatic rifle on your person at all times, less where all sorts of things, I'm not going to get political. All sorts of things happen elsewhere, and it's insane to me that we have this absolute gorge of luxury when it comes to this, a plethora of tools to gather organize, think about, review, discuss, and just everything from you can ask it. What was insane to me is I asked it about a computer game that I play called Squad, and I asked it about the rules of Squad, and it literally told me how it was a technical question about how something worked in the game, and it got it right. And I was like, who would ever think to provide this AI model with a manual from a game? You know what I mean? Like, he read the manual, understood the manual from a computer game that not actually a real world thing. It's something we just made up, and he actually can talk to me about how the game works, as if he developed, as if the AI tool, knew all its intricacies. And then, it just then I think I had an issue with my wife's car with braking. I was like, hey, GBT. This is the model. This is the this is the manufacturer stuff. What type of brake fluid do I need? And like, broke it down exactly. Here's the 3 types. Here's the one that I think. It's like, oh man, that is insane. We are eons in a direction that's very interesting.
Hello, good VJ. Hello, Jamie. I hope you're having fantastic days as well. But yeah, so rule of thumb then, Deflux. If the thing that you're saying is not really necessary to make your point, and it sounds kind of political-ish, just leave it out. I like the last part of that statement. It's insane that we have this technology and it's just eons beyond.
Well, yeah. I don't. I know for my streams, and I don't shy necessarily that far away from what some people consider political. It's like, right. like when I get up, I make my bed, right? Because that's what I do after I get up. And then some people say, well, that's political. Like, actually, it's just me making my bed in the morning.
No, it's just off topic, that's all. Like, is it relevant to what you're trying to illustrate with the coding, programming, technical topic?
So,
or is it just something that you want to talk about because you like talking about that topic?
I do think I'm a member of the sort of the we are Earthlings in the sense that I bring them with me, right? So it's like I have this really cool thing. How can I help? How can I bring it about? And that's certainly political. It's inescapably political. But at the same time, it's like, well, I have to get up and organize my bed because I can't organize my life around not helping people. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why. But no, you're correct. And I should, if I could just drop that bit, it would have had the same the messaging. You're correct.
Yay. Ask it to explain why 1 + 1 = 2, says Thimble. Anyway, you guys can keep going. I'm having fun with this too. I'm also checking.
But yeah, no, I've got to go through, and right now I'm putting a lovely PowerPoint presentation together for our application. So we, the enterprise art. We have a team of people called Enterprise Architecture, and they want to review things every now and again. And so we need to put together a presentation that discusses everything about our application from an architectural perspective and everything that that would need to know. And the problem I have is I don't know these people, never really met them. They're sort of like big bureaucrats up in the central office. I've shook their hand once, but that's about it. So I'm trying to think of all the things I should include, and that's what I asked the GPT. But happy to take suggestions from people in chat. Is there something that maybe that you have in your application? Maybe you've gone through this and where you've got to explain or do a presentation about what your application does that you put in there that you think this is actually really important, to make sure you include one of these things. Right now I'm trying to understand the difference between a logical architecture diagram and an application schema diagram. That's the two different types of diagram, I guess, that will be good to provide according to the machinations of the API, the AI I asked. So that's what I've been working on. That's taken up considerably more time than and do you, one line. Have you ever had to like present your do you? Because I remember you used to like have a big Word document that you and your missus and the team there, the previous place, will be working on to like explain what each button does and everything. I think it was a Word document, I remember. But have you had to present or?
I think I know what you're talking about.
I think it was like a manual for like the end users. I think it was,
right.
Not necessarily like what I'm talking about.
The user guide type of thing.
Yeah. But like, what medium? What medium do you have you ever had to do that? And what medium did you use? Like for me, I'm thinking PowerPoint. But is there like a better way to do this?
I wasn't fully paying attention. I apologize. I was
No,
playing
you're all
around.
good.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
the overall thing that is being asked of you is to put together a technical document or technical information. Tell me again.
So the overarching thing is I've got to convince the people in different areas of the company, whether it's like there's different teams, and I don't want to share the team names because that might dox my company, but there's different teams in the organization that want to be clued into what our application is doing, how it works, and it is going to be technical, yes. So it's going to be like we're hitting this endpoint, this database, and here's the server it lives on. Here is how we're securing the Azure stuff. Here's the package we're using, right? And here's the UI, all this sort of stuff. So it is technical, and I'm going to basically convince my methodology is to do a PowerPoint presentation. That's what I've chosen to do, and so I'm going to get them on a Teams call, and then I'm going to go each of these teams and go, "This is how we do. This is what we do," and they obviously have a little Q&A session.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think of all the things to include in that 1 hour discussion or whatever I have PowerPoint themed thing. What
Okay.
what all should I include there? You know what I mean?
Right. I don't think that I've ever had to make an official documentation as to what approach we should. Well, gosh, yeah. Okay, so it's not going to be helpful for me because the things that I had to do that with, now that I'm thinking about it, I just had to do that on Wednesday, Wednesday. Whatever day Wednesday was, where they gave me some UI improvement suggestions in a PowerPoint, and it was really hard to parse. But I created a Figma mock-up screens of here's what we could do instead because it makes more sense to the way that our app is working, and I had to convince them essentially that this way is a more appropriate approach, and let me know if there are changes to this if you want. So that was Figma. As far as trying to say we should integrate this technology, I think that's what you're saying, or we should follow this approach.
Just to explain that.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Just
never argue. I just explain why I'm right. Yeah, do your best to explain why you're right. Don't argue with them. So, Thindle says use Miro, but still, what kind of information would you include in that? Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Interesting. And just for my knowledge, right? Because I obviously I follow you for a long time on Twitch here, and obviously anytime I'm like, what the hell is when I run into something, you know how like you run into a moral quandrum, and you say, well, what would Jesus do? Well, if I run into a .NET quandrum, I ask myself, what would the lion do? And often I go run over to the
I would throw it over to someone that is more project manager oriented to be like, hey,
well, no,
we need to sell this technical thing to non-technical people.
Well, so one of the things I do when I say what will I do, if it's a Blazor thing, well, the first thing I do is say, let's go open the Finan Tracker application. Let's review how we can think about this differently and how maybe it could be implemented in a more straightforward way. And that's what sort of what I mean. But no, I have great respect. And so, why do you think it is like? Okay, so I'm being asked to do this, right? And I'm thinking it's part of something I must do as a .NET developer. How do you come about the situation where you don't have to do this? I would like to know. Like how do I get out of this puzzle? You know, have you ever like do you have when you speak about it? Is it because the project managers run away and already said there's no presentation needed? We're using .NET, it's safe and secure, go away, or is it because like what is the replacement for the thing when you have to explain to or you know to a team or something what you're doing and what the what progress means, I guess.
I mean, we kind of had this discussion as well. So we have third-party team. We're calling them third-party because they're not a part of our team or our organization even. But within the client that I work for, that develop library. I'm going to call them libraries, but they're almost full-on applications that we incorporate into our code, and we depend on them to give us releases. But we are also developing our own methodologies and saying this would be a better approach than relying on third-party team who is not giving us the information that we need. It takes X amount of months. So I guess the thing that we need to sell in that point is maintainability of this thing, reusability of this thing across multiple teams, and price points. Is it going to save cost on time, money, increase user experience? Is it going to make it better for people? So I don't know if these are the types of things that you're looking for, but that's what we have to essentially describe or state when we're trying to implement a feature in a specific way that is different from the ask.
Interesting. Okay. And so, do you mind talking to us a little bit more? Like, how do you go about doing that? Like, is it like, just move me through that one more time, just so I can get my head fully around that. So, you identify the what they're asking, their expectation isn't correct because of the way they ask the question, and it's just saying, well, you've asked it sort of wrong, in a way, and so now we're going to explain to you a better way to think about this, so you can ask it correctly, and the expectation can be appropriately set, and we can provision that. Is that sort of, that's the flow, right?
It's more they are asking us to collaborate with another group that is notoriously unresponsive. And so our case that we're trying to make is we'd be able to implement these features if you gave us the freedom to write C# code and not use these established libraries that don't work. For one, there's still bugs in them. Two, we can't analyze the source code because, like, across our teams, we need to still get access to each other's repos because various contracts work on different aspects, for example. But yeah, I guess it's more on the, we can provide this functionality for you in a more efficient and maintainable way than relying on this other team. However, that being said, and possibly unrelated, we are moving to a centralized way of managing all of these different third-party things, where now it's going to be everyone feeds into this one place, and then they can pull different functionalities for their specific app from that one place, which I think is cool. But again, that still runs the risk of how do we coordinate with each other, because our app now relies on this library. We would like for you to update that library to have this extra feature. Man, it's so hard to do without, in vague terms, without revealing too much.
Yeah.
Let's say that I have an app that can generate a bottle. It knows how to make a bottle. And they made it so that when it generates the bottle, it puts this green rubber koozie thing on it. And we're like, well, we actually want the ability to just get the bottle itself, and we can put whatever koozie we want on it. Or we want a different color. We want to be able to change the color. And that is going into their backlog as a feature request. And so we have to wait for our iteration cycle for them to do their work before we can include their product into our app to fulfill the ask that's in our backlog.
Right. So that one sprint item then becomes a 3 sprint item.
Except we can't use the term sprint.
Oh, are you not? Is that banned?
Yeah. So Sprint, the actual company Sprint, was like, you're not allowed to use that.
Oh, is it? Oh, is it? I didn't know this. What is the
So
new?
They're just called iterations.
Iterations. I shall now. Hold on. Let me.
I mean, you don't have to. I'm just saying that.
No, I love this
we're
stuff.
only allowed to use iteration.
So,
No,
kind of unrelated, but just jumping in, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I maybe need talked off the ledge. Am I crazy to be trying to implement a parallel for each loop right now?
It depends on the case. I mean, if it's appropriate for what you're trying to do.
I've had mixed luck with this kind of stuff before, so I'm kind of... basically, the long and short of it is log analytics, the REST endpoint can't take any more than 30 megs at a clip, which, okay, so I built an extension method off of it that chunks it up by 30 megabyte chunks. And I'm thinking of using a parallel for each loop to send the REST request concurrently so that it just kind of gets there as quickly as it can. Any thoughts?
I mean, I kind of do this with an await when all.
Yeah,
for
so
all
Weddle
of
might be
my
more
lookup
appropriate
lists.
there for the purposes of logging, right?
Yeah, except that you are actually iterating through a list and you're needing to do some kind of send this information to somewhere. Or like
Yeah,
in
I have a
chunks.
list of lists, basically.
Yeah. So it's essentially chunking. So your
Yep.
inner list is a chunk of stuff that you want to send.
Yeah, that's already done. I'm just trying
yeah.
to send each chunk in parallel.
So I don't really know how the application insights part of it works, or the backend part of it works. But for me, if it's just an API endpoint that you're trying to send to, then there should be no problem with. Oh
Yeah. Do we
okay.
think using an
how's
array of
the
tasks
client?
would? Do we think
Yeah.
using an array of tasks would be any better than parallel for each? I mean,
I
where would
think
we
it
make the
would.
distinction?
Are you doing anything else with the data in the for each loop, or are
Nope.
you just doing the sending the information?
Just the sending.
Makes more sense to use a task one all then.
I mean, just curious.
Even
I'm
if you were
I'm not
getting
pushing
stuff
back. I'm just curious. What's the justification? I guess.
It's easier to maintain. It is. Is it easier to maintain?
I don't know.
Bindle doesn't agree,
I mean, yeah, I'm curious.
At least I
because
think
threading is not my strong suit at all.
Yeah, one of the things for me that would pop to mind would be for logging, right? If as long as you remain in that task paradigm, logging becomes easy. The trouble with like the for eaching is like, well, make sure whatever you call then has a try catch, because then maybe that will screw things up. Like you don't know what you've sent now, versus doing a task call where you can like, oh, this one failed and so on. That would be that'll be something, but no, it really would depend. Now you're sending an API call. Are you using a HTTP client, or you use like a Nugget package? That's like an API thing you're doing there.
I mean, it's a wrapper over an HTTP client. I don't know if you've used refit before.
So it's
just
almost
a
like
refit
a
interface.
HTTP client. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm nominally familiar with wrappers over HTTP clients for API.
Yeah, I think I'm convinced in chat Tyron had a good point. I'm not CPU bound at this point, I'm network bound. So I think tasks might be better here. Just from the perspective they can all fire,
Yeah.
I can wait for them all to come back.
Yeah.
And I won't be binding anything up as far as CPU threads or anything like that.
Right. So, and what I was trying to get at a little bit before too was, in your parallel for each, if you are doing something with the data as each task completes, then that's when parallel for each also makes sense to use. But again, that could also be a parallel when any, or a task when any, and then you just keep checking for tasks to be completed. And when they're completed, then you can report information. I could do that here, but instead I'm waiting for all of my lookup list information requests to complete, and then I'm populating my lookup list after that. But if I wanted to populate my lookup list as they completed the request, then I could put it in a parallel for each. I think that is.
Yeah, in this case, I think I'm totally with you there, because the parallel for each would effectively give you the ability to do something after the call has returned. In this case, I don't care about that. I'm literally just using this as a way to shovel things over as fast as possible. So I think that it's a good call. Thank you. Appreciate that. I still have not found anything that I have ever wanted to like use parallel for each or be compelled to do some kind of threading with in C#. I just really haven't. I mean, maybe it's not the problem type I work on, I guess.
I struggle with it too. I understand. I really want to use it because okay, so the selling
that's
point
such
for
a weird. Real
each...
quick before you go too far, that's such a weird mentality. It's like, I heard about this thing. It sounds cool. I really want to use it.
Well, here's the reason why.
I'm totally there, because if it's the whole need for speed thing, right? Like if I go to a car lot and I look at a little, I don't know, smart car, I'm definitely going to be more appealing towards a sports car. You know? Like it's not that I should do it; it's that I'm intrigued by the ability to do it. But
Right.
adding to this, I am actively reading through a good book recommendation for folks if you are interested in threading. I'm not through it yet, obviously. There is a Parallel Programming in .NET 6 by Alvin Ashcraft book out there. That one is really good. Anyway, proceed.
But yeah, no, what I was going to say was, I haven't, I'm struggling to find use case for it. I really do want to use it because I'm trying to understand about this CPU stuff, right? So the selling point for Parallel for each is that it will basically dump the whole thing onto the CPU as opposed to like going one by one through it all, which instinctively tells you, well, one's slower than the other. And so if there is, that to me sounds like, because if they have a big list, that's a big saving in time, and time is money. And so that's an area where if you can actually really understand that, if that, and that's what I'm saying, that feels like, yes and no, exactly, this is what I mean to say. I'm trying to find this yes and no situation. And if you can understand it, well, I'm going to make big savings. And so that's why I have the can-do attitude of, hey, let's learn this thing.
So it really just sounds like, is it a thing that you can split up into chunks for doing some kind of processing on the same data, as opposed to how can I do multiple things at the same time, because we have async await for that, or just tasks in general. That's kind of what it's sounding like. And that's just my summary in reading this. And as I say summary, Gilgamesh is like, I need a summary of community days. You know what would be nice is if I could get the...
That's a new feature. You know this?
Auto GPT to actually summarize my videos for me by watching them and doing that.
That's a new Teams feature. I think it's actually
Yes,
kind of
I
an
knew
old
about
Teams
that.
feature now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if
that's
we were
also
doing
one of
this
the things
call
we'll
over
use.
Teams, then I could just turn recording on, have it do the transcript, and then summarize it.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not about it. And that also was one of the things that I was, and Thindle mentioned last week. And it's still in the midst. If we have something to figure out, if we can figure it out, I don't know what discussion you had because I had it before I joined, but I would love to think about possibly doing something like a podcast, and using a tool like that would be really nifty.
Pretty cool
to be able to do.
It also takes the number of CPUs you have on the device into account. Nice. So use Parallel for each on hundreds of thousands of string comparisons. A program I wrote was taken 30 seconds to run on a low-powered app, and now it runs in a few milliseconds in a few Microsoft After app.
Seconds. Oh yeah, so use Parallel for thousands of strings. Yeah, so that's comfy. That's the saving thing, because that's what I heard, right? I read that somewhere, and like, damn, it's really something. So that's something I really wanted to tune into, but it's not obvious exactly. Well, at least I haven't found exactly the yes and no's for it. But it would I have some massive lists I have to iterate through, and so this would be really dang cool to be able to utilize. I just haven't. And this is one of the trouble I have at work is it seems to me there's the theme going on where I basically run behind some very productive people and I'm constantly fixing their mistakes, and it's like, well, I can never actually like build out the feature myself because I'm constantly fixing mistakes. So
I gotta run for a meeting, guys. Talk to you later.
All right. Thank you so much for
take care. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
Go on, Deflux.
But no, I really, so I'm out of hours at work. I've gone over my allotted hours, so I'm officially clocked out. So I was thinking of doing a Unity, having another crack at the HoloLens stuff with Anchor thing. I don't know if you saw, but I got
Azure Spatial Anchors when you were talking with Solo Solipsist.
Yeah, and this is one thing, and I just wish it was not, for me at least, so damn complex, and maybe I'm not giving enough attention. But the first thing I do is I download like 3 different example projects. None of them even remotely build for me.
Oh. Are you using the right version of Unity? Because
yeah, it's like, what did the right version? Did I went from like 12 errors to 3 errors by selecting like different and you go to like that, was it the
Project settings, fix all.
no, the tool that like sets the project up, I forget
Oh,
it's the MRTK tool
mixed
toolkit
reality
thing. I don't know what
feature
it's called.
tool.
Yeah. And so I went there and I was like, no, just go ahead and switch on the spatial anchor thing. I'm like, there's like 8 things that all say spatial and anchor, which
Right, yeah.
then
It's like
some of them
which
are-
ones and what versions, because you don't want to use the MRTK3 stuff with your MRTK2 stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why. So I had a question in the Discord then, but I haven't really got I haven't got to thinking about it. You know, what on earth can I do? Because there's only so many trial and error steps you can do before you're just spending hours clicking and building things until they don't work. But yeah, that's something that man, I wish Unity would come out with the .NET 6 stuff, and I wish like Microsoft would swoop right in and just do a Nugget package and be like, here it is, Nugget package, ding bang bosh, the project now works, and then they could just build out so much if that's even possible, right? Because I might be just talking into the wind in terms of it, that might not be possible, but damn, that would be something.
For what thing, Thindle? What do we want to watch, Captain Commerce? Speaking of Captain Commerce, actually, I need to do a shout out for all of you. We'll start with Captain Commerce, but what about what are we looking for in the VOD? 75% certain that he built some class libraries and compiled to framework, then he linked those into Unity.
Yeah, you can't. Also, there is also another thing I found out where they make Nugget package. There's actual Unity add-on to make Nugget package compatible with Unity too.
Are you sure you're
it's
talking
more
about
of a-
Captain Commerce or Captain Coder?
I think I was discussing this on Live Coding's stream, and I think was it Live? I don't remember now. Well, that's how I found out about the Nugget package. There is a Unity package you can add to your Unity application that then in turn allows Nugget packages into your application. Captain Coder, there it is. Yes, that sounds about right. And so, but needless to say, that's not really what I am saying. I'm more saying like I wish like Microsoft and like they would get their heads together on some of this stuff, because if they just get their head together on some of this stuff, it will make my life so much easier. But you know, it's a big ask because there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, because like for you and me, we started off, I guess is what I should say, as doing desktop mobile web development, and probably more surrounding web development than anything else, and trying to transition to the technology that I think we're going to be writing apps in for the metaverse, when that actually becomes a thing and is no longer called the metaverse, but the actual thing that it's supposed to be called, which I have no idea what that is. We'll be doing development in Unity or in Unreal or in some kind of 3D engine where we're writing code that is spatial, volumetric. So being able to, what I was trying to get at is being able to transfer our current skills to that, which includes our, I'm going to say expertise, with the current .NET ecosystem as it applies to desktop mobile web application development. I'm going to try convert built with Blazor to new .NET 8 away from Azure Functions and get server pre-rendering. Annoyed I haven't updated in ages. Ooh, my stomach. Hey look, it was the Spotify sound loader. Pretty. Oh, I love these colors though. I remember when you showed this to us the first time, but yeah. Nice, straightforward, clean. I love side drawers. You know what the issue with side drawers is though? I'm gonna bring this up every single time. Accessibility, man. So side drawers open. If I use the tab key, I should not be able to tab to anything behind. But if I have a screen reader and the only thing that I've done is told the buttons to not be tab stops, I could still use a screen reader to navigate to the items behind unless I tell them to be ARIA hidden when there's a pop-up. Oh, it's so annoying.
Well, congratulations on the new job, by the way, Kung Fu Keyboard.
Heck yeah.
Are you hiring? I always say that, because you have to keep your eyes open to what's going on in the world.
I don't have to.
And what's going. Well,
You might have to. You might feel the need to. But I don't.
yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm here to make sure that 8 energy doesn't take over my stream. They are. And it's at a central bank. Anyone in particular? Or are you not allowed to say which central bank? Is it like Central Bank of America? Is it? Oh, I guess that's just Bank of America. Central Bank is its own thing?
Central bank sounds like a government thing. It's like like you have like the federal system. So you have like this federal banks in each state, and there's a central one in but yeah, no, you should never really share your company name on like a public forum anyway.
I don't need to know. I personally don't need to know, but
no.
If it was something that you could share.
Central bank is a beautifully vague term. Like it sounds like to me like the Central Bank of Kenya as well, something like that. It sounds like something really mystique. It's the government's bank. There we go. That's all you need to know. So it's just, cool stuff. And that's all amazing. And so that's one of the things I've got to keep my eye open. That maybe I'm in manufacturing. Maybe maybe .NET is more powerful and more pertinent and more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not powerful, pertinent.
Different. More prevalent?
More useful in different industries. And so keeping your eyes open to that might be worthwhile.
Yeah. So again, being part of a consulting service, consulting agency service, I am seeing a lot of projects that are geared around the things that you would typically expect in private sector, which are JavaScript frameworks, Java Spring, backend stuff, and very little .NET. But I have been fortunate to be working government type jobs, and now the client that we're working with happened to be .NET all the way anyway. So awesome. Worked out for me.
Yep.
Yeah, and banks typically are .NET as well. Banks, government agencies.
Yep, as indeed. Indeed.
Ooh. Did it work? Does anyone know if this worked? I have no idea what I'm doing, as per usual. Never really paying attention to the actual code that I try to write while we do community day. It's so idle. I hope it's not offensive, and if it is, I will stop writing code and only listen to you, Deflux. I don't want it to be disrespectful to your time.
Platform. No, I have a powerful platform. Yeah, I'm here on the point of it's on the calendar in the sense that I'm going to take every second I can get, I'll take, because it's very valuable to me. So by all means, be as distracted as you want to be, because I wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the way in which you manage and run your stream, and I really enjoy the content. There you go.
So,
but
yeah.
no, No, I just running unit tests. I come here. I'm like, I watch what you're doing. I'm like, that's what I'm not doing.
I am just so grateful to Peter. He just on a whim decided that he wanted to see if he could write tests for our calculator, and he gave it to us. And I was like, this is awesome. I'm going to actually use them. And then I scrapped all of my original logic that I was writing for the calculator and then started just working one unit test at a time, making them turn green. And I was like, hey, this feels like what TDD should actually feel like. And there we go. We have all green tests. Nope, we have a test that wasn't run. Why did you skip it?
It's super close. 13 skipped. Oh, I see red.
No.
I see red.
No. I know what this is. Like, I just need this to be trimmed. Like, I followed his example because he saw that some of them have spaces after. Like, if I put an equal sign, then I put a space for whatever reason. But if I put the actual operator, there is no space. I don't know why I did that. But it doesn't matter because the user doesn't see it. The web browser will ignore the space.
Yeah, I
Return
have
space.
a colleague of mine whom has a. I don't actually know how to do it, but I guess in Visual Studio, and I think maybe you did this at one point. You can go in and adjust, like, is there going to be a space after an if, or is like the was it the curly
yeah.
bracket? Is it on the
Mhm.
next line or this line?
Mhm.
And so I have a colleague that has gone in and set that, and so like half of my get pushes is my IDE just simply like reworking all the work that he's done.
You know how to avoid that, right?
Tell him to stop fucking with the.
Well, no. I mean, that is one way. Coming up with an agreed way, first of all.
Well,
But
we have an agreed way. That is that he has not. I guess. Yeah. Sorry, pissed off. But
but the whole point is once you all decide as a team what you want it to be, generate the editor config file that goes with the actual solution or project, depending on what you're passing around. That way everyone follows the same rules regardless of what your IDE's settings are. So if you all say curly braces on the next line, then it will do curly braces on the next line for everyone, even if in your editor you say curly braces on the same line. Editor configs, man. And that way, your commits aren't 80 files of here's white space that got changed.
I like my code looking exactly like the documentation. In that I don't really want to like I get this there for a reason, but I don't like even messing with those kind of rules. It's like the document that they build things out for a reason. Can go with the flow a little bit maybe. And so if someone comes in and it's like I've got 30 rules for your ID and how I want, I'm like, no, just follow documentation. Man.
Yeah, but so that again is us as what's the word I'm looking for? We're kind of set in our ways. Like, I had a coding style that I absolutely loved. Most of you hated it, which was curly braces on the same lines, 2 spaces for tabs, and yeah. I really love that because it's less horizontal space for me. My team already had their own coding formatting guidelines for an existing project. Therefore, I'm not going to go in there and say, well, you guys need to follow mine because I prefer it this way. Instead, it's, okay, this is how the team has already been doing it. It's been agreed upon. I will follow along. If we do greenfield projects, brand new projects from scratch, then we will establish our coding guidelines as a group, because it's not about whether we are actually following to a T. .NET says do it this way, or Microsoft says do it this way, or industry says do it this way. It's the team knows that this is how we are going to do our coding together, and therefore it is less cognitive load on the team, and everyone does it the same way in an expected way. So maintaining versus following industry standards, even though I like industry standards.
Yeah, and so I guess for me at least, I don't think so. Okay, well, again, it's just, I'm thinking of the one scenario that bothers me every time I pull code at work. Is like there's this one guy that doesn't want to play ball, that isn't interested in the conversation, and doesn't even think to maybe look at the document. It's like maybe so dev over there. Maybe your rules shouldn't, whatever. But anyway,
yeah, it's like exactly. So I would have been that guy had I not said I'm going to do what is already there in the code.
Right.
And that's what that sounds like. First, so that guy is actually not the one that is setting the rule. It should be the one setting the rules, at least not without a team discussion on here's our formatting, here's what we're going to do with multi-line arguments being passed into a method, or multi-line parameters on the method definition, whatever. That kind of stuff.
And I say, and if that guy's listening on Twitch, because it very well may be, he's a very hard worker, but there's one wrinkle,
I'm calling you out, but not in a harmful, damaging kind of way.
Well, I didn't give, it's that guy. It could be anyone. It's like Florida Man. I love the Florida Man. That's when they started doing that. I don't know if you know how
No
that
idea.
came about.
No idea.
No idea.
No idea.
There will be a report, right, of some crazed thing happening, usually some criminal-esque notation to it, and they typically wouldn't have that person's name. They've just been recorded, so they would say Florida Man, insert crazed name, and so then that came into there's actually a guy that's known as Florida Man running around doing all
Nice.
So they reversed it. It's kind of like Anonymous, how Anonymous came about,
Either a crackhead or a Darwin Award attempt.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
Yeah. So that's how.
But yeah,
that's how
Thindle
Florida
definitely.
Man came about.
I think that's what got me initially liking spaces in place of tabs. I love the argument for using the actual tab character in place of spaces, for sure. But for my flow, I definitely love having them converted to spaces when I'm coding. I'm not planning on copying and pasting this into Notepad and saying preserve my tabs. I'm not planning on opening it in a different IDE or anyone else opening it in a different IDE and having their own code styles, because like I said, as a team, we decided we're going to use these code styles, or I guess they decided before, we're going to use these code styles, and they have an editor config that forces my editor to do it. Fortunately, they do use spaces when you push tab, so that you can line things up nicely, in my opinion. But it's only an opinion. Might not be right. That's the default. I do too. But then again, because your settings migrate with your user login, with your login into Visual Studios, I have no idea what the default settings are for Visual Studio anymore, because they keep getting reset anytime I download a new one or uninstall and reinstall and re-log in. So I don't know. Nice, Dendel. He says, but in my brain, or he says, I think it's default, but in my brain, I've always been saying, use tabs, you filthy animal. And it turns out I am the filthy animal that's not using tabs, but not intentionally. It's here. It's right here. Insert spaces instead of tabs. Like a magic.
So one thing that should surprise nobody, that's a little bit of .NET news for you,
what is
Visual Studio for Mac is going away, which is probably a long time coming, right?
I didn't know that was even on the books. I thought they were trying to fully improve VS for Mac to make it as equal.
Well, no, that's not my experience. Anytime I use Visual Studio for Mac, it's like a really watered down version of an IDE. It's like zero of the features. Like it doesn't even look like Visual Studio. It just looks like a very neutral IDE. It reminds me of like Eclipse for Android, way back in like the 4.4 days of Android. That's what it reminded me of.
Oh man, this splash screen is perfect though. I wish you could see it. It's on the other screen.
How to convince developers to install new IDE, brag about this splash screen on a different screen. Like
yeah. Oh guys, you got to see this splash screen for Eclipse. I can't show it to you because it opened over there, so you're gonna have to download it yourself.
Yeah.
And plug.
But yeah, so I guess that what they did this is the end of next year. I think they're gonna end support for the .NET. But obviously,
you said it's not going to be surprising to anyone. It was surprising to me.
Well, I mean, in my primary tool when I develop on a Mac is VS Code. Right. You know what I mean? Like naturally, that's happened to me. Like I don't even for .NET applications, even Maui, I go and use VS Code on Mac. I don't use Visual Studio for Mac. and that's just naturally because it's just that there's none of the features that I want in Visual Studio are actually in the VS Studio for Mac. And so I guess I should say, shouldn't be surprising to people who develop on a Mac, I guess, right? Because I don't think you do that often.
Spread operator. It didn't. I don't know. And if I was going to do it, I'd probably use Xcode because I'd be writing in Objective C or whatever language they use. Actually, I'd be doing Maui.
Swift.
That's not
Swift is the thing.
It's Swift now. You're right.
Else?
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's the original. I don't know. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, so spread operator doesn't work currently in C#. I thought that's been a thing for a while. Wow.
Oh, Tindall's talking about the new thing. And I've now caught one line in a quandrum because Nick Chaffas did a video on this. So if you were keeping up to date, you'd have seen it.
I haven't been. No, I've been in meetings apparently.
No, I'm just busting your. He did it like 3 weeks or so ago. He did a small video on all the new .NET 8 features, and one of those features is a new way that I think what Tyndall's referring to is a new way you can instantiate those and set up those. I don't know what you called them. What do you call them?
The spread operator, like what Tyndall's talking about right now. Yeah, so it's essentially saying, give me everything that's in this array, flatten it out, and add it to the beginning of this array at this location, this new array that I'm making, or at the end of this location, or just completely flattening it out and displaying it. I'm pretty sure that's spread operator. Marshy. I don't know what they're calling it in C# 12 though. It is called a spread operator. I need to use the edge reading, like you said.
Yeah. But you're on Chrome.
Yeah.
Ironically, and this is a lawsuit in the wings. If you put in Chrome, the read bit at the beginning, it will reopen that window in Edge because it's technically like a hard link to the application.
Interesting. So that tells me that read is a custom protocol.
Yes.
That was registered. Yeah. That's kind of a hard one to fight though, because you can make anything a custom protocol for any user that decides to install it on the machine. But I guess like Edge is part of Windows.
I don't think actually like the court, like, you know, I don't think anyone in the courtroom, including the judge, has any clue what any of this actually means.
Oh yeah, true.
Doesn't stop them from duking it out.
Yeah. That is true.
I think they are
technical expert on this. So,
and then the technical expert comes in and they will just take a nap, basically.
Yeah.
Instruct the jury to please put the pillows down.
Wait, was that actually a thing? Oh no. You might be able to change it in the huge list of open this with this browser.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of, so there's a settings window obviously for it. With the not file association but protocol association in Windows, you can change it. But
yeah, because I only know how to do it through the registry because I had to do that with our app. We have a custom protocol, and it's so annoying. They told me that when we use our custom protocol, we can't really use like a path, which you can typically do with custom protocols. Make it look like a URL.
Route? Yep.
So like for example. Here's my custom protocol. My cust protocol : // and this will launch my app. And actually, I think it will. My cust prot. Oh, I didn't leave it registered is what happened. Anyway, this will launch an app that's registered in your operating system as my custom protocol should launch this app. The browser will say, it's trying to launch this app. Do you want it to? And if you put some other route in here, then your app would be able to see the additional route information. But they're saying, no, it can't. And I'm like, I believe you, sure. And then I tested it on my own and I was able to, but I believe them.
Yeah,
Our
absolutely.
app
Obviously,
cannot.
I mean, obviously you can. That's part of the whole protocol.
Yeah,
That's part
and
of the
not only
story,
that,
right?
but they are using that exact approach for launching specific portions of our app from the command line.
Yep.
It's like, what do you mean I can't read the route? Well, you can parse it as command line arguments. Is that not what reading the route is? So anyway, and the whole point was we have the ability, or we are trying to add the ability to log into the centralized authentication system for this manufacturer, you know, a user to, and then we're doing that by opening a web browser control in our app and then reading the URL from the embedded web browser, essentially, as opposed to open an external browser, use their existing browser session. If they're already signed in, we get the response back to our redirect URI, which is the custom protocol : / my authentication endpoint that I want to go back to, and then have the app listen for that. And they're like, you can't do that. And it's like, yeah, we can. So now I have to do it in a way where we implement a HTTP listener instead and try to register on an available port and do all of that stuff. And it's like, sure, that's a lot safer than using our custom protocol. It's the same. It's exactly the same.
Yeah. Yep. No, I love the fun one, and this is this is one of the reasons why I'm doing that
It's
talk
not
that
a
I
dumb
mentioned
idea.
earlier. It is the security team where I work at. I think maybe I don't think I did mention this, but they we have a database, right? And so we have, for development purpose, an IP whitelist for our developers so they can log into the database, right? And so only like 5 people on planet Earth are on that whitelist with their IP address, so only they can access the database. Well, the security team came along and said, this is really unsafe, and we want to do things differently. And we go, oh, okay, what's up? We're like, well, once you're logged into the VPN, then you're authenticated, so you should be able to access it through the VPN, and you can access it through the VPN. And so once you're in the VPN, it's safe. So we went from like only 5 people, technically 5 houses if you think about physically, or 1 person in the house, like 5 IP addresses being listed, to now like 20, 30,000 people technically having access to log into the database. And I'm like, oh, this is more secure now. It's like, not only that, it's also like over hundreds of locations physically across the United States of America, with like maybe lax security standards at those locations, you know. So anyone with an Ethernet cable and a laptop can start trying to log into my database, as opposed to just 5 people. And they're like, well, technically, they're like, well, the company can't secure the remote workers' houses, and it's like, you know. And I put in a message in the team chat. I was like, can everyone check the front of their house? Is there a white FBI van in front? And if no, we're okay. You know, it's like who literally like you see what I'm saying? Like, oh, well, anyway, that was their thing.
No,
It's now more secure.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's not. That's part of my talk. Part of my section of my talk here is the perimeter security. Is what there? Yeah, that's my. It is. It really is.
But yeah,
Well,
so Thindle, we already have a mechanism for if you try to launch the app again from command line, it will launch quietly and then switch it to the new, or to the existing running instance. So it's very little code for us to implement. Anyway, yeah. But yeah, exactly what you said, though, Deflux. It's very safe.
It is my TED talk, because that's one of the many things I'm sort of sliding into my application. I'm doing a talk about my application, and in by proxy, I'm talking about like how bad it's set up, not because of me, because of sort of the rules I've been forced to abide by.
Oh my gosh. Like, I don't know how many times we talk to our client. Like, we just need one iteration, or one release cycle is what we asked for, to just do code modernizations, refactoring, adding tests, and just using modern approaches for the things that we identify in a very organized way, because our code is all over the place and really, really, really need some.
I hope they oblige you. We just did
They
our
don't.
first ever.
We don't have the
maintenance
budget
sprint.
for that type of thing.
Yep.
It's like,
Yep.
but we have the budget to have all of these bugs that make us have to revisit something we've already implemented or was implemented in 1980, and we still have to rewrite it or fix whatever the issue is without rewriting the code.
Yep.
Sure.
That's the way. That's ironically, that we've done our first ever maintenance iteration production cycle. What do you call it? We did our first ever cell phone provider company name for maintenance ever in the application, and it's been really good, but it's also been really bad. It's like highlights how bad things are, and how some of my colleagues maybe are really hard workers, but not necessarily thinking through the bigger picture, which is what I shared with them. So I'm okay to say that.
I mean, and that's the thing about me. I will voice my concerns, and I'll be like, here is a potentially better approach for you to consider, you decision makers to consider. I want to sell it to you as hard as I can, but you're ultimately making the final decision. I'll work within the bounds of that, because in the end, I am still going to do the best job that I can with what I have.
Yeah. And that's where, for me at least, and definitely for you, well, I say more so for you, is like that bigger picture understanding is really like where your expertise. That's probably like I find like .NET developers as a whole have that down, as opposed to other developers that maybe don't.
Don't think so. Our friend ENTJs don't really. Just saying.
ENTJs? I don't know.
Myers-Briggs type. Don't worry about it, because we are running out of time anyway. That would be a fun topic. I love talking
this
about
time was flies and flies past, by the way.
Yeah. So anyway, I didn't actually finish all of my shout outs. Here's a shout out for Deflex Streams, who said he may, no promises, may stream later. Although I think, oh, you know what? I think Dukasoft took care of it. Oh my gosh, Dukasoft, you're so cool. He gave a shout out to Coding After Work. He gave a shout out to Cap. I gave a shout out to Captain Commerce. Wait, where's the shout out for Deflex? It says that I have to wait another 7 minutes and 46 seconds before giving you another shout out.
Huh, I must have got a shout out then. I can look at my thingy thing.
Yeah. Anyway, then here's Thindle, which says I have to wait 14 minutes and 45 seconds, which means Thindle also got a shout out. Fancy.
Yeah, I got shout out 53 minutes ago.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Dukasoft. You are the best. So sneaky. Actually, they were way up here even before. It was after. Oh my gosh. It was even before I did the Captain Commerce shout out. I wasn't paying attention. So yeah, if you haven't been following these two, they are amazing peoples. I'm sorry I'm not really able to participate in your streams, Deflux, because they're so
that's no problem. I stream at weird times. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I do stream at weird times.
But I still log in and make sure that I'm energetically present.
Can I shout out a fellow streamer that just went live 20 minutes ago? The Solipsis is
that's who we were gonna shout him out.
Oh, okay. Well, I was about to say, let me shout him out, and but don't worry, if we're gonna raid, we're gonna raid. So we're good.
So yeah. So tell us any last words for today, for this week.
Well, as always, I enjoy this, and I always learn something. I hope you guys learn something. If you haven't followed, you should be following. If you're hearing me and you're not followed, you're I'm allowed to say this. I'm not the streamer. You're a bad person, right? Because one is amazing. That's not from the streamer. That's not like the streamer shutting you down. It's third party, so it's valid. So
all guests on our shows are expressing opinions of their own, and they do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of our channel.
Yeah, there's the disclaimer for you. So definitely do follow. It's been a pleasure once again. Thank you so much for doing these streams. I really want to catch the Wednesday one more. I seem to miss that one, but I really do enjoy getting to talk to you, and so thank you so much.
Yell out Solus. But yeah, thank you, Deflex, for being here. Really fun hanging out with you.
I'll drop.
Thanks. All right. And Irish Jump Games, who's probably been lurking, probably just now got here. Who cares? It's nice seeing you. You should get a shout out too if it lets me shout you out before we head out. But I will be on lurking on his stream a little later as well. Gamers. 31 seconds. That's plenty of time. So we'll be able to shout you out as I set up this raid. But like I said, we will be raiding Solo Solipsist, who is working in mixed reality technologies, cross-platform to include VR, AR, mobile kind of stuff. He's worked a little bit with Vuforia using whatever it's called, the little pictures that you use. Markers. Okay, did I talk long enough? I can do shout out Irish John Games now. I did talk long enough. Irish John Games is a fantastic game developer who is working on Rise of Piracy, a really cool game. You can see it right there from Dukasoft, sending out the link to see it on Steam. Wishlist it, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat, tell everything in existence. Yes. So he typically will be starting his stream in about an hour and a half, I think. Or maybe half hour. I don't know anymore. The thing is, I see him go live, I start lurking. Tell your inner pirate. 23 minutes. Okay. So yes. There you go. There you have it. Did I already do /raid? /raid solo solipsis. So anyway, stick around if you feel like it for raiding Solo Solipsist. He is working, like I said, in those technologies that I want to work in, such as HoloLens. I really want to work in HoloLens very soon. Or not necessarily HoloLens, just augmented reality in general. Oh, I guess we can go to this screen. I want to work in augmented reality. I don't care what form it takes, but I believe that if you write an augmented reality app now and you design spatial computing, spatial programming, and you have this really cool design, you write your app and it works only in the HoloLens at the moment, or only in Apple, whatever their thing is called, or only in the MetaQuest, or what's the other one? Magic Leap. It's still going to transfer to the bigger picture when this becomes a more widely accepted and adapted technology and platform. Tell your Pastafarian. Heck yeah. Tell your Schrodinger's pirate. Did you put a pirate in a box? I heard another song about putting something in a box, but I can't remember how it goes. So anyway, I hope you guys have an enjoyable weekend. I will be back on Monday. A copy of this video will be published to YouTube no sooner than 24 hours after I end the stream. And feel free to join us on Discord. Okay, that's my time. Timer's counting down. Ciao for now.